The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Charles Lejano. Pag-asa says Typhoon Odette is rapidly intensifying as it approaches parts of the Caraga region. To tell us more about the situation over there right now, we have Jem Avancenia. She's joining us on the line from Tandag City in Surigao del Sur. Good morning. Jem, could you tell us the latest?
Yes, Charles, since last night, we are experiencing strong rains over the province of Surigao del Sur. And just this morning, the rain and wind became stronger, and currently so nakikita natin talagang sobrang lakas na nitong ang pagbuhos ng ulan, and also we've noticed the huge waves along the coastal road of Surigao del Sur this morning. Charles?
Right, heavy rain there so far. Do we know how many people have been evacuated so far, Jem?
Here in Tandag City, according to Mayor Roxanne Pimentel, they already evacuated around 3,500 families, and all of the 8 evacuation centers here are almost full, according to the mayor. And we've talked to some evacuees, and according to them, so far they are okay. They already received their ayudas, and the LGU provided them meals this morning. Charles?
Jem, apart from this preemptive evacuation, what other preparations are in place? Are the rescue teams ready?
Yes, since last night, according to authorities, to some officials that we've talked to, they already deployed their search and rescue teams, especially on the coastal areas and to some areas that were flood prone, since there are still residents who refuse to evacuate. Charles?
That being said, Jem, are we getting reports of any flooded area so far amidst this heavy rain?
So far here in Tandag City, there are still no reports of flooded areas, but they are anticipating flooding since last night we are experiencing strong rains here in the province. Charles?
Based on what you're seeing and based on what has been said by the local government officials, what is the expected impact of Typhoon Odette in that area?
Yes, Charles, the authorities, they are praying that there will be no flash flood, but they are reminding the residents, especially those living on the landslide and flood-prone areas, to really evacuate before the situation worsens, since this Bagyong Odette is expected to become stronger this afternoon as it makes a landfall over the Surigao del Norte. Charles?
Thank you, and stay safe, Jem. That was Jem Avancenia reporting to us live from Surigao del Sur. The country's vaccine expert panel thumbs down calls to shorten the interval between the primary vaccine series and the booster shot. Speaking on One News' The Chiefs, vaccine expert Dr. Jean Solante said shortening the interval may have a detrimental impact on the vaccine's effectiveness. This is in response to calls to shorten the gap to as early as 4 months instead of the current 6 months.
Kalat siguro nila kaya hindi ang binibigay natin sa mga tao, no? Even US did not recommend for a shorter interval from the primary vaccine series. Other countries did not. They still follow the 6 months because that's the data. Okay. So we need to follow that. No? We need to follow that. Hindi natin pwedeng i-shorten kung wala namang data na mas maganda ang less than 6 months over more than 6 months.
In the same program, pediatric infectious diseases expert Dr. Anna Ong Lim says the detection of the Omicron variant in the country highlights the need to vaccinate younger children against COVID-19. The country is still waiting for the EUA that will allow the rollout of some vaccine brands for the inoculation of children aged 5 to 11. Vaccine experts also note that they can recalibrate the recommendations on the planned full resumption of face-to-face classes by next year, based on COVID-19 data over the holidays.
I think it's becoming a little bit more urgent because of the threat of Omicron. And in other countries, we've seen that children have been affected, primarily because they represent the unvaccinated in those countries.
How useful is Pfizer's experimental COVID pill in reducing hospitalizations in the context of the Omicron variant. Dr. Amesha Dalja of the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security tells us in this Bloomberg report. Let's watch this.
How much closer are we to that ultimate objective, treating this like the common cold?
Every time we get a new tool to use to treat people, to keep them out of the hospital, we get closer to that goal. And I think that the antiviral from Pfizer is one of those tools because it has a tremendous ability to prevent people from becoming hospitalized. And that is what this is all about. That's what flattening the curve was about, preserving hospital capacity. So I do think we're getting there. Obviously, the vaccine is the best way to get there, and we still have about 40% of the population that's not vaccinated, including 60 million people eligible to be vaccinated. That's the biggest thing, but I think the antiviral does bring us a lot closer to that.
We are looking also at the Omicron variant and anecdotal data out of South Africa showing that perhaps it is less virulent. How much are we looking at that being a breaking point to the upside and getting us out of the pandemic? Have you got enough data to get a sense of that yet?
The fact that all we're hearing about are mostly milder cases, not completely mild, there are people being hospitalized, but less ICU use, less oxygen use, I think that's reassuring because we haven't heard anything different. We know that in the U.S., I think only one of our cases had been hospitalized. It's a little bit difficult, though, to completely extrapolate that to the rest of the world or even to this country because South Africa is a country that's a little bit younger, has different comorbid conditions. We want more data on unvaccinated people, especially high risk. But it does seem that for the unvaccinated, it still might be just the same as Delta, and we may be trading Delta for Omicron. But if it's more transmissible, but even just a little bit less virulent, it may end up being a wash overall for what we're dealing with. So it all depends on how this all plays out in the U.S.
We've been talking about how the two-course dose of either the Pfizer, BioNTech, or the Moderna vaccine does seem to have some preventative aspect against Omicron in terms of how ill you get, but not necessarily infection. It seems a lot less efficacious. People are saying that the booster is really important. I know you said you did not get a booster. Have you changed your mind based on some of the incoming data?
No, I haven't, because I'm 46 years old. I don't have any comorbid conditions, and I think that a booster will just inevitably just kick a breakthrough infection down the road with these first-generation vaccines. If you're somebody that's above the age of 65, have a high-risk condition, got the J&J vaccine, those people absolutely should be getting boosted today. But for healthy people, I think that's not going to change the trajectory of Omicron. It's not going to prevent Omicron from hitting our hospitals. What's going to prevent Omicron from causing a problem are first and second doses. And as you said, the Pfizer data shows that people are protected against what matters, severe disease, with a two-dose regimen if you're healthy. And I think that's what we need to be emphasizing, because if we continue to boost to prevent mild illness, I don't think that this ever really ends. And I think we really have to focus on severe disease. And maybe there'll be a second-generation vaccine that gives us different types of protection than our first-generation vaccines. And that will change the equation. But right now, I haven't seen anything that changes what I would say for healthy people. I might be in the minority, but there are a few of us that really are focused on hospitalizations and not so much preventing mild disease with these vaccines.
Union Bank and BDO may soon press charges against those involved in the massive hacking incident that affected some 700 victims. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez gives us the front seat to the story.
The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas has already identified the culprits behind the Mark Nagoyo account in the recent BDO hacking incident. That was the fake name used to open accounts with Union Bank, where the stolen money from BDO were transferred to. According to the BSP, it's not an inside job, and it involves more than one criminal.
I think they are not bank employees, and they just opened their accounts recently. Some of them opened last October. I think 2 or more.
The central bank says it will divulge the names in time, but has already ruled it out as phishing, as none of the victims gave out their one-time passwords. BDO said it's already working on the reimbursement of around 700 clients who were affected by the hack. Affected consumers will need to go to their branch of account and sign documents to get their refund. On the Mark Nagoyo BDO hacked Facebook page, some victims said they were also asked to sign a quitclaim and special power of attorney for cases the bank may file.
The real persons behind Mark Nagoyo have already been identified. So I think BDO and the other institution, Union Bank, will definitely file charges.
The BSP has formed a task force composed of cyber and anti-money laundering experts to investigate the breach. Governor Ben Jokno says he's given them a 30-day deadline. Meanwhile, IT experts are also raising the alarm over scanning QR codes from unknown sources.
Meron kaming nakikitang magiging trend susunod ng mga scammers.
Okay.
Imbis na link ang ipakita sa iyo, QR code. Ibibigay sa mga tao para pag-scan nila diretso na.
Samaniego added that companies should refrain from giving promos through links as this could be taken advantage of by the cyber criminals. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez, We Are One News.
Here's a quick look at some of today's headlines. Typhoon Odette is forecast to intensify further ahead of its landfall. With the Philippines' detection of its first Omicron cases, the DOH says it might take a full month before we feel the effect of the new variant in the country. And the annual tradition of Simbang Gabi, or Misa de Gallo, has started. And those are the top stories at this hour. Join us again later at 2 p.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Just register for a free account at www.signalplay.com so you can stream One News live anytime and anywhere. I'm Charles Lejano. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We're One News.